Hello everyone. If you've used a platform like Amazon or any other e-commerce platform where you looked up a product, you are familiar with this sort of a view where you put in some information into the search box, some results come on your screen. And if you've wondered how does it work so fast, I'm here to talk to you about exactly that. So stay tuned and watch it till the end because we will be covering search indexes, which are basically a way to store your data. Now, helpful video before we get to this one is the video where I talk about DB optimizations, where I cover the point of indexes. So this is similar in idea, but of course you don't need to watch it, but I highly recommend it anyway. It will give you a good connection when it comes to these two concepts. Coming back to this one, we have search indexes. That is again a form of storing this sort of data that is searchable, and that can be used to implement this autocomplete type of functionality. So you have a search box, you enter certain phrase like box. In the list of results, you notice that there is a commonality, that is box, which is relevant to what we have looked up. So question is, why do we need a data structure like search indexes? I mean, sure, it's used, but why do we need it? Why can't we just have some simple database queries to achieve exactly this? And I would say that yes, it is not impossible to achieve this with a database query. How would we do it? We can have a query in SQL like select star from products if you are an e-commerce website's owner, where the product name is like, we use the like keyword, box. That's our phrase that is being searched. So this is the kind of query we can run to achieve a result that is similar to what we are seeing over here, because what this will do is this will look up all the product names. It will see wherever there is a box present, it will return that result to us. So it will work. Why do we need search indexes? Because this operation, this like keyword, especially with a full substring search over our key phrase, is very, very expensive. So what these autocomplete functionalities do is that they take in some input, they wait for 100 or 200 milliseconds, they send a search request to the backend. This query running every 200 milliseconds is computationally very costly. We cannot afford that. Our servers will inevitably crash, especially at scale, and most definitely crash at a scale like Amazon's. That is where search indexes come in, because they are designed to process and store text in searchable form. That is the idea behind them. This is what they're built for, because databases, they're built for general querying, they're built for general persistence, general use cases which build up a platform. But search indexes have a very unique use case that is related to searching data. And the name should make it pretty obvious for you, search indexes. So question is, how is a search index formed? Given that we have a list of products, how is how does a search index look, and how can we search from it? What is the theoretical process behind getting our data from it? So let's go to the next slide for that. So a simple search engine performs a few steps for us, starting with normalizing our data. Normalizing data means that the data should be in a common format. What do I mean by that? Let's say the product name is box of chocolates. Notice that there is a B that's capital. Notice that there are two exclamation marks at the end. So that's the product name that is visible to the user on the website. But is it easy to search when we have some things in uppercase, some things in lowercase, we have special characters, we have connecting words like off. So we need a common format that makes it easier for our data structure to be searched. Starting with converting everything to lowercase. I'm not saying this is the only thing that is done. I'm just giving you an insight on how to get started over here. If you want to build your own search index, these are the baby steps that you need to take. So you convert the data to, let's say, lowercase. So that would make this string into this one. So we still have our exclamation marks, but everything is lowercase now, because searching in a single case, whether it is lower or upper, is much faster than having a case insensitive search. So we need to convert everything to lowercase. Then we want to do something like removing special characters, like If we have box of chocolates followed by two exclamation marks, the exclamation marks will be removed. So that would result in something like this. Lastly, we would remove stop words. What are stop words? They are words that don't add a lot of weightage, a lot of relevance to our search index, like the word off. We don't need off when we are searching for something, because what do you think would give more accurate results if a user searches for off or if a user searches for chocolates or box? The answer is the latter, right? Either we search for chocolates or box, the result would be more accurate in that case. That is more meaningful to us. So remove all the words that are not as meaningful. That would give us box and chocolates as the final output of normalization. Now again, this is just an example. I reiterate this. There could be many, many more steps depending on how complex your system is, but a simple search engine would perform these steps in its internal processes. Next, we want to tokenize this data. So when we're tokenizing data, what I mean to say is that if we have this sort of an output, that is box space chocolates, we want to split it into different words. So we have a phrase box chocolates, we break it into tokens. If you've used LLMs, you've seen an error that you ran out of tokens. So I feel like you may be able to make a connection with that over there. So we want tokens. So you divide this. We have one token that is box. We have one token that is chocolates. All right. So after breaking it down, you store each token with the respective row ID. So you have, let's say, different products. You can say that Apple, the word Apple, appears in the row with the ID 2 and with the ID 15. And box would appear in the rows with all of these IDs. Box is a popular word used in different product names. Let's say, we can assume that for this example, it's appearing in different rows. Chocolates appears in these rows. And in our example, we had box and chocolates. So the more accurate thing to do here would be have an ID that is overlapping. So let's say row number 99 is talking about our box of chocolates. So it's present over here with box, it's present over here with chocolates, and it is stored in a sorted manner. So if you notice, we have apple followed by box followed by chocolates, A, B, C, alphabetical order. So it's stored in a sorted manner, and this sort of an index is good for prefix searching. So if you have an index like this one, like the one we were talking about over here, you are searching using a prefix, right? This could also return, let's say, a result like boxing gloves, because there is the phrase box present over here. Now, of course, this depends on how you've set your search index up. Maybe it will find it, maybe it won't, depending on your configuration, but it is definitely possible. So this is what we are calling, this index is good for prefix searching. Now, why do we store data in a sorted fashion? That's because it allows us to perform binary search on our list of products. Because binary search requires your data to be sorted. If you don't know about binary searching, there is a video on my channel where I implement the solution of binary search, explain some details about the algorithm, and in that I also tell why it is a fast algorithm as compared to other search algorithms available in the market. So this gives us a logarithmic search time complexity, which is why it is favored in a good majority of systems, especially ones where data can be sorted, because sorting is a prerequisite for binary search. So that is why we need to store it in a sorted manner. Question is, I don't necessarily want to search for prefix searching. How do I perform suffix searching? Can a search index be set up using that? So a search index can be used for exactly that, but of course your data will have to be input in that relevant manner. So how would you do it? I say that, okay, fine, your tokens can simply be reversed, entered into the search index like you usually do, like we just discussed, and that would make it an inverted index that's good for suffix searching. For example, if we have 4 products, walnut, hazelnut, chestnut, and peanut, on a platform like Blinkit or Swiggy, Instamart, or whatever it may be, we have prefix inverted index and a suffix inverted index. How would the two look? So prefix inverted index is like the one we discussed. It is in alphabetical order. We have chestnut, hazelnut, walnut, and peanut with their reference row IDs mapped to them. So if somebody searches for, let's say, hazel, they will get the rows related to hazelnut. But if they search for nut, I would prefer that the suffix inverted index should be used in such a case, because over here I have my values reversed and stored. So this is hazelnut, this is peanut, this is walnut, this is chestnut. Notice that the row references are the same. Chestnut has 1, 2, 3. Chestnut over here has 1, 2, 3 as well. Same goes for the other entries over here. So if somebody searches for nut, this can also be used. So how would that look like when you implement it? When you implement the API that makes this query, your API can use both indexes. So of course you will have to set both indexes up, but both indexes can be used. The results can be combined, and whichever result seems more relevant based on the weightage that can also be defined in the search index, that is what is returned to the user because it's more accurate, more relevant. So you can basically take the best results and give it to the user. Which brings me to the tools that you can use to implement search indexes in your own application. So I have a few factors listed in this table over here. Let's go over them, starting with, well, the tools themselves. So first we have Apache Lucene. This was the OG of search indexes. I think this was this project was in 1999. And so it's been there in the market for a while. And ElasticSearch and MongoDB Atlas Search are basically built on top of Apache Lucene. So ElasticSearch is another great solution. I've used it personally for personal and, well, professional projects, and I find it to be very useful. MongoDB Atlas Search is a native solution for MongoDB databases. So they allow you a very simple mechanism to build search indexes in their existing databases. You don't need to do a lot of setup. So what are they exactly? This is a low-level search library. So what do I mean by low-level search library? This means that you will have all the tools needed to build a search index, but you will have to do a lot of work setting it up from scratch. This gives you a lot of flexibility, but you need a lot of knowledge and a lot of time to get this up and running. As compared to Elasticsearch, which is a distributed search engine, so a lot of things are available out of the box, especially if you use the ELK stack. Let me just write that down for you. ELK, that is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Just search for ELK stack and you will get the results. So it is a distributed search engine, very easy to use, very easy to set up as well. And then there's your MongoDB Atlas Search. This is a managed search engine inside MongoDB. So you don't have to even set it up. You just need to define indexes on various fields. Let's say there is a string field on product.name. You simply say that, okay, I want a search index based on this field, and you can define the configuration related to it. Then the setup effort, like I said, you have to set everything up from scratch, so the effort is very high as compared to Elasticsearch, which takes a little bit of effort to go up and running, but very easy compared to Apache Lucene. A lot of things are abstracted relatively as compared to MongoDB Atlas Search, where you don't have to do a lot of work in the first place. So right now this seems like the best solution, but is it? Let's see. Well, before we get to that, all systems are built on Apache Lucene. Well, Apache Lucene is Apache Lucene, so that's native. Elasticsearch and MongoDB Atlas Search were built on top of Lucene as its backbone. Now, the primary use case over here is that you can build custom search engines. Elasticsearch allows you to perform large-scale search and analytics. So if you want to have an e-commerce website, this is a pretty good solution for you. MongoDB Atlas Search is for searching within a MongoDB app. So if you're using a database like MySQL or PostgreSQL, this is simply not the solution for you. You will have to look at one of the other options. That is the major bottleneck. Now, of course, MongoDB has made it for their own clients. It is simply for their own paying clients. Whoever pays for the databases gets this feature. So it makes sense as well. But you have free options. You will need to just host them on your own infrastructure. That's about it. Then comes the query language. So you have to use Java APIs to figure how to get data from Apache Lucene. Elasticsearch has its own DSL, which is JSON oriented. And even then it can have some abstractions associated with it. So if you're using Node.js, different abstractions are available for you to send queries to Elasticsearch databases. And MongoDB Atlas Search, if you've used MongoDB queries, you know about aggregation. Inside aggregation, there is a simple search keyword that can be used to define exactly how you want to search data from the database. So that is a very native integration for MongoDB. Again, a use case that it is primarily used for is full text search. Full text search is like I've been talking about, how you can search on different product names on a website, or if you are storing documents and you want to search through various entries, each entry having sentences and sentences of data. Full text search is used to basically achieve search functionality on that particular type of data. Then we have fuzzy search, and both these features are available on all three platforms. Fuzzy search is, let's say you have a word box, user is searching for it. If I, let's say, search for something like BOC, fuzzy search will still return box as a relevant result for me. It will say that, okay, you know what? They've written C. Maybe if I replace it here, this seems like the relevant result. If I replace this C with an X, that's fuzzy search. It is not 0 or 1. It can be somewhere in the middle, right? So it doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be the perfect answer. It just has to be the best answer available. So fuzzy search is available on all three of these platforms. And when it comes to actually tuning the system, because for each use case you have to had a different configuration based on what is best over there. Apache Lucene gives you full control because it is a low-level search library, so you have full control over here. Elasticsearch also gives you a good amount of control. A lot of use cases can be covered with Elasticsearch, but MongoDB Atlas Search has limited tuning. This is something I've observed as well, but that's okay because as long as full text search is available, a lot of use cases are still covered in my MongoDB applications over there. Of course, this depends on what you're trying to achieve over here. Because in one of the use cases that I implemented, my data was not present on MongoDB at all. So I had to ingest it from a pipeline, send it over to Elasticsearch, and then my search engine did the rest of the job after I added some configuration. I tuned it to my liking. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you would like to cover each of these in a separate video, do let me know in the comments below. I would be happy to make a video for you guys on these topics because they're very important and very interesting at the same time. And for now, I'll take your leave and I'll see you in the next one where we'll cover another cool system design concept. Thank you and follow for more.